So good morning, everyone. Today you are in for a real treat as I share the very latest new business benchmarks for agencies. This is all thanks to Benchpress. For those of you not familiar with Benchpress, it is the largest survey of independent agencies in the UK. And every January, I'm so grateful to everyone who takes part in that survey and who helps spread the word. Without you taking the time to answer those questions, today would not be possible. I wouldn't be able to share the benchmarks that I'm going to share, the insights, the stories, and the tales from the top performing agencies here in the UK, which is exactly what I will be doing with you today. Now, this is something that we've been doing at WOW for the past decade, sharing the very latest insights for agencies that specializes in working with agencies. We have hundreds of them across the UK. And not only do we provide great insights and benchmarks, but we're on a mission to help you to build a beautiful business. And a beautiful business is one that is led with purpose by people who care. It's guided by a clear strategy and it's soulfully grown. And I can't wait to share the tips that I'm going to share with you today to help you on your journey to building a beautiful business. And that journey started back in March when we shared our financial performance and client work benchmarks. It continued later in the year as we shared our recruitment and retention benchmarks for agencies. And it culminates here right now with our new business benchmarks. Today, I'm just going to be sharing the tip of the iceberg when it comes to these benchmarks. The full reports will be released on Thursday. Keep an eye in your inbox for that email with this recording, as well as the reports for agencies over $1 million and agencies under $1 million. Before we get started, a big thanks to Ben Potter, who helped me craft the questions that will give you these answers that I'm sharing today. Ben's a brilliant new business expert, and we're always going to share a link to his LinkedIn profile in the chat. He's a great person to be connected to. Thanks, Ben, for your help. Now, today I'm going to be taking you through 5 big opportunities for your agencies. And as well as these being big opportunities, they're also 5 action areas. The feedback I get from people who've listened to my webinars in the past love the fact that it takes you away from the day-to-day and gives you an opportunity to work on your business rather than in it. But that time will be wasted if you don't take action as a result of today. So as you go through and scribble notes, make sure you underline those areas where you will take action and do something positive in your business as a result of today. So a really good place to start with all of this are your new business challenges. And there are lots of them. You will recognize things like not enough new business leads, client budgets being too small, and decisions keep getting delayed. These are the challenges that agencies are facing right now when it comes to new business. But it is not the number one challenge. The number one new business challenge is not enough time being spent on new business. Now, as well as this being the number one challenge, this is also our first opportunity. And the reason it's the opportunity, because if you are experiencing these challenges, not enough new business leads, client budgets being too small, decisions getting delayed, I would back you to solve those challenges if you spend more time on new business. Everyone listening to this, I think if they spent more time would help solve those challenges. So there's only 3 ways to solve this challenge. You can hire someone to do new business. You can hire someone else to do elements of your role to free up your time to do new business, or you can get external help. There's only 3 ways to solve this, and you'll need to do one of them if this is your number one challenge. So let's back up and have a look at each of them in more detail. So hire someone to do new business. If you've never done this before, I appreciate that this is a really brave step. You know, entrusting someone else to persuade people to come and join you as a client is a really big step. If you're the owner, and have been doing this job currently, you'll know that you as the owner carry a great deal of weight in those conversations with clients. They know that you're not going anywhere. They know that you will still be here in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years to deliver on the promises that you made to them. And so handing that over and entrusting someone else to do that is a really big step. But what our research found was that those agencies that had additional help, had hired someone to do new business, quite simply got better results. They were far less likely to feel like they weren't spending enough time on new business. They grew quicker and they had better conversion rates than the agencies that were just doing it on their own, which is really interesting. So yes, it is a big step, but you've got to do one of these 3 things in order to solve this challenge. And that could be the one for you. Now, if that's a step too far, particularly if you're a small agency, this next step could be the answer. And hiring someone to do elements of your role, particularly if you're bogged down with client work, actually doing the doing, or even the account management, hiring someone in to do those technical elements or do the account management could free you up to spend more time on sales. And finally, get external help. There are hundreds and thousands of agencies and freelancers out there that could help you on your journey. One of the challenges we see agencies facing when it comes to new business resources, they try and get their internal teams to do this. Well, we'll fit it in and around client work, they say. That never happens. You know it never happens, because client work will always take priority. And at the end of the month, you'll sit there and say, well, we didn't get a chance to do our own internal marketing this month. Maybe next month will be the month. And it keeps rolling on and keeps rolling on. If you can get external help in, what you'll be able to do is ensure that every single month, there are things happening when it comes to your marketing and new business activity. So you need to do one of those three things. And what you're ultimately trying to do here is build a consistent new business engine to remove this responsibility away from you as the owner, and to get more people doing this and doing the things you need to do on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly basis to just keep ticking this along and keep this moving, to move away from the boom bust roller coaster life of agency business. And a key question I get asked is, well, when building this new business engine, well, how much should I spend on it? And we thought we'd find out the answer. So we asked a very simple question: what's the percentage of fee income that you spend on sales and marketing? And this was what the answer came back as. Now, you can see the most agencies, 51%, are spending between 1% and 5% of their fee income on sales and marketing. And I suppose the next question is, well, which of these categories are performing the best? Well, I can tell you which is performing the worst. If you are one of the 13% who spend less than 1% of your fee income on sales or marketing, you are much less likely to grow quickly, much less likely to grow quickly. Now, there's no real surprise in that stat, really. If you don't spend much money on sales and marketing, you're not likely to grow quickly. But that's a key cutoff. Now, beyond that, once you spend more than 1%, there is no correlation between spend and performance. And what matters more is what you do with that money, not how much you spend. So the next logical question is, well, what should we be doing with that money? What activity should we be doing to help us ensure success? And so we asked, what's the most effective way of picking up new clients? And the number one answer was referrals. Now, that won't surprise you, or it shouldn't surprise you. But what is surprising is the answers to the follow-up question that we asked, because we knew this was going to be number one. You probably did too. So we asked another question, and this is our second opportunity for you today. The question that we asked was, have you implemented a strategy to increase the number of referrals you receive? Now, given referrals is number one, it always has been number one way of picking up new clients, you would expect lots of people have implemented a strategy to increase the number of referrals that they receive. But you would be wrong, because only 7% of agencies have fully implemented a strategy. Now, this represents a huge opportunity. Let's look at some of the other categories. 29% have partly implemented it with the senior team. Well, that's good. That means that 36% are well on their way here. 15% have tried it, but it lost momentum. But look at this. Almost half of agencies have not done this yet. And if you are one of those 49% that have yet to implement a strategy to increase the number of referrals you receive, this is a monster opportunity for you. Think about how many referrals you get without even trying. Imagine what would happen if you actually tried. And there are some tips in the doc to help you do more of this. What else works when it comes to picking up new clients? So referrals is number one, but we can't just rely on that. We know that we will need to do more in order to pick up the clients that we need to sustain our growth. So what else works? Well, referrals from existing clients was number one, but look what number two was. Networking. 15% of agencies said it's the most effective way of picking up new clients. And this survey was conducted in January 2022. So even despite COVID, networking, whether that's online or face-to-face, is still an effective way of generating new business, as is referrals from other agencies and freelancers, which is really interesting. These were the top three ways of picking up new clients. So networking and referrals from other agencies were 2 and 3. So this is really where your third opportunity comes in. The question I have for you was, if you want more to do more networking And if you would like to generate more referrals from other agencies, then you really need to check out the Agency Collective. So the Agency Collective is a support community for agency owners that provides incredible peer support, content, events, ideas. But what it's also done through building those relationships is it's given agency owners the opportunity to forge strategic alliances. And I was chatting to an agency owner the other day who'd been a member just for 6 months. They run a small translation agency. And he said in those first 6 months, he's forged some incredible friendships and he's won a couple of pieces of work. He said, those pieces of work have paid for my membership for the next 100 years. He said, I'm never going to leave. Why would I? He's one of many, many agencies that are reaping the rewards of being part of a community where you can share ideas and experiences and eventually through those relationships win work together. What else makes a difference when it comes to your new business function? Well, this next answer may surprise you, but what you measure makes a huge difference, and how often you measure it makes a huge difference. And in fact, this is our fourth opportunity. In really simple terms, the more you measure, the better you perform. And this applies not just to new business, it applies to every aspect of your agency. And this is one of the key opportunities as you grow to get ahead of the game. It's perfectly normal when you start off to fly by the seat of your pants and not measure too much. Well, what do you need to measure anyway, really? Make sure you've got enough cash to get through the month and try and pick up some new clients and scramble to deliver that work. But as you grow, as you build those foundations, as you look to build sustainable, profitable growth, it's really important that you sharpen up significantly when it comes to measuring metrics within your business. Now, a few thoughts to share here. As you can tell, this is a subject that I'm particularly passionate about. It's one that we help our clients with a lot at WOW. And the reason we do that is because it plays such a significant part in their performance. I want you to think about your leading indicators. Now, those of you who heard me speak before will know I'm a big fan of separating leading indicators from lagging indicators. So lagging indicators are those that tells you what has already happened. For example, cash in the bank would be a classic lagging indicator. It tells you all the proposals you've issued, quotes that have been accepted, client work that's been done, invoices that have been issued and finally paid. It's a history lesson in what has happened in your business. A leading indicator tells you what's going to happen. For example, number of proposals issued. But well, number of proposals issued will tell you how many clients you're going to pick up in the future, or certainly give you an indication of the clients you're going to pick up in the future. But I want you to go further back than you've ever gone before. I'm going to share some examples later of how far back you should be going with this when it comes to your sales and marketing metrics. Because proposals issued might look like a leading indicator, but actually there's a whole load of metrics even before that that will give you clues as to how many proposals you're going to issue. And the reason it's important to go far back is I want you to avoid the crashes, the moments where you crash and burn, and suddenly your new business pipeline grinds to a halt. We've all been there. If you've been in business for a while, you've had that moment where suddenly everything goes quiet and you're sat there scratching your head. How on earth could this have happened? Well, there are indicators that will tell you that this is going to happen weeks and months before it's going to happen, and will allow you to do something differently and change course. Now, typically, these are going to be weekly indicators. They're ones you're going to be watching like a hawk every single week, looking for changes. It might be things like engagements with your social posts, things like visits to your website, subscriptions to your email newsletter. It might be the number of booked calls or new additions to your email marketing database. But there'll be some very early indicators that will tell you what conversations you're going to be having, and therefore what proposals you're going to be issuing, which will then tell you what clients you're going to be picking up further down the line. So have a think about those leading indicators. Have a think about those lagging indicators. You will need both. And what you're trying to do here is move up the levels of reporting. So the first level of reporting is retrospective, where you are looking back and looking at what has already happened. Your accounts are retrospective reporting. They tell you everything that happened last year or everything that happened last month. What we can then do is move into real-time reporting. So those of you who are doing live project reporting at the moment, looking at your real-time profitability by project, are doing real-time reporting. If you're reporting on conversion rates and average client value as part of your new business function, then that's real-time reporting. Now, once you start to build up these metrics, you can move to the level 3, which is predictive reporting. If you're able to take some of those early indicators, combine them, you're able to predict the future. You're able to say, we're going to pick up this amount of work at this point based on, and it's going to result in this many hours, this much revenue, and you can start to refine your predictive reporting. Again, I have some examples of some of the bits of the jigsaw that you'll need to bring together in order to do that. The impact of reporting on operating profit is significant. This is why I'm encouraging you to spend a lot of time and thought in this area, because what we did with our data is we split it into 2 groups. In the first group, we looked at those agencies that didn't measure many metrics and didn't measure them very often. And in the second group, we looked at ones that measured quite a few metrics and measured them often. And what we noticed was there was a significant difference in operating profit between these 2 groups. That first group that didn't measure many metrics and didn't measure them very often had an operating profit of 18% as an average. The second group that measured lots of these metrics and measured them often had an operating profit as an average of 28%. When we saw this, as you can imagine, this caught our attention, and I hope it's caught your attention too. This is the prize available for those that take this seriously. And I want you to think about how you can take this even more seriously. What extra metrics could you measure? There is always the next level with this. This is the challenge. No matter what stage you are at, no matter how good you think you are at this, there is always the next level. So let's look at what metrics agencies are measuring when it comes to their new business. So let's look at some of the sales metrics they're measuring. Now, these are stats from agencies with above $1 million revenue. And you'll notice when you look at, if you're below $1 million, when you look at that report, the percentages are ever so slightly lower. But when it comes to sales metrics, you've got things like proposals and presentations. Well, I'd imagine, well, you can see 2/3 are measuring that. I'll be honest, I'm surprised it's not higher. I think we should all be measuring pretty much most of these stats, proposals and presentations. New business won versus our target, looking at the number of qualified opportunities, our conversion rates. You know, once you start to piece these things together, things like conversion rates and sales lead time and average value of new client, we can start to then form opinions on what our weighted pipeline value might be. And when you're going through this process, I talked about lagging indicators. A really key one here is towards the end, third from the end, retrospective forecast accuracy. The really smart agencies are looking at their weighted pipeline value. So looking at the predictions they're making at what new business they're going to win. And as I said, that's based on average value and conversion rate and sales lead time. And they're looking at that, taking a snapshot of it in time, and then going back and looking at their retrospective forecast accuracy. So if in the month of January, you predicted that in March, you were going to do £100,000 worth of new business, when it comes to March, was that correct? How far out were you? And the better you get at that, the more you do this, you will be able to improve the accuracy of your reporting. You will be able to hone that predictive element of your reporting and get really good at this. And once you get really good at this, it will give you more confidence to make decisions based on your pipeline. We've all been there where we're sat there going, well, I think we're going to have a good month next month, or a good quarter, or the second of the half year is looking good, but I'm just waiting on a few decisions. We need to, if we can, increase the certainty with which we can forecast what's going to happen in the future, because that will allow us to hire with more confidence, make investment decisions with more confidence, and sleep better at night, right? And I think other than the heat, we all would like ways to sleep better at night. So those are a few sales metrics to think about. Marketing metrics are really interesting as well. So, you know, the vast majority of agencies are measuring where a contact first heard about them. But it's interesting to compare that to the source, what prompted people to get in touch. So the two different things. Someone might hear about you from one particular place, stay in touch with you for a number of months or even years before they finally get in touch, and what prompts them to get in touch is really interesting. You can see that half of agencies look at website analytics and are keeping track of the social media followers and engagement stats. These are all really good leading indicators. Same with email contacts and engagement stats. For many agencies, they have identified that awards entered and won are critical to their success. So they're measuring that. And same with those that rely heavily on their content or events. But ultimately what we're trying to get to, and this number needs to be higher, 24% are measuring cost per lead. We need to have a much better understanding, not just of what is working, but what it's costing us to acquire those clients. If you go back up a slide, you'll see cost of acquisition, only 16% of agencies are measuring cost of acquisition. Plenty of room to improve. So hopefully there's some metrics there that will, you'll be thinking, right, I need to start measuring that. What is the next level for you? The fifth opportunity, and therefore the fifth action area, is to give options when you quote. We asked a question in our survey in January that said, what are the number of pricing options that you give to a client when presenting a proposal? And as you can see from the pie chart, it's a pretty even split, pretty much a third, a third, a third. So around about a third say one, third give two options, and those that give three or more are 34%. Now, the ones that perform better is this group. Quite simply, it's really important that when you quote, you give more than one option. And there's a number of reasons for this. If you only give, as humans, we like to compare. That's how we decide if something is good value or not. We like to compare. And if you're only giving one option, then you're giving the client the incentive to go and compare that to someone else. And by the way, even if you give more than one pricing option, they may still go elsewhere to compare. But it allows you to control how you position each of your offerings in relation to each other. It allows you to control the profitability of each offering, and it gives clients choices. It's not then 0 or 1, all or nothing. It's saying, well, which of these two options? There's a number of 3 ways that we can work with you. These are the options. And the theory is, and it works in practice, is that those 3 options give you the opportunity to stretch their budget. Well, I know you said your budget was 10,000 a month, and here's what we can deliver for 10,000, but if you spent 15,000, this is what you could get. And that's where it starts to get interesting, because those that give 3 pricing options or more had a better conversion rate and had a bigger average client value. So it's there in the stats. We've known this for quite some time. You know, if you listened to my presentations before, you know I've been talking about this for many years, and I love it when we finally find the stats to back up the hunch we've always had, the anecdotal evidence we've always had. And here is those stats. Another opportunity for you, another action area to make sure that you are always issuing 3 options when you deliver your proposals. There is one more opportunity, one more action area that I would like you to think about here today and take action on. Those of you who've come to Agency Bites sessions in the past will know how valuable they are. These are run by my colleague Rory Spence, and they're a brilliant opportunity for agency owners to come together to discuss some of the biggest challenges and hottest topics impacting agencies right now. And when it comes to hot topics, the next Agency Bites sessions, which are being run in August, are definitely one of those. So Rory will be discussing in groups of agency owners how to win super profitable clients. Because when it comes to new business, we know that not all clients are the same. And I'm sure we'd all love to pick up more of the super profitable ones. So Rory will be running a session, highly interactive, sharing some additional content on how you can win some super profitable clients. Before we go to Q&A, I just want to share one final thought with you. If you're sat there listening to this, and it has been a whistle-stop tour of some of the benchmarking highlights, the rest will follow in the report. If you're sat there thinking, I wish my accountant talked to me about this sort of stuff, I wish my accountant understood agencies just like WOW do, then we'd love to chat to you. We love working with businesses that want to grow profitably and sustainably, and we'd love to help you on your journey. Please get in touch if that's you.